What would you do if you walked into the biggest job interview of your life, and the first thing they saw was the child holding your hand? Would you turn back, ashamed? Would you beg for another chance, or would you stand there, knowing this might be your only shot? This is the story of a single mother who dared to show up when the world told her she didn't belong, and of the CEO who watched and made a choice that changed both of their lives forever. Stay with this, because what happens next might just change the way you see second chances. The lobby of Ridgeline and Wilder gleamed like a mirror. Glass walls stretched high, swallowing the light. Every sound was sharp heels striking marble. The faint click of a receptionist's keyboard. Mara Quinn held her daughter's hand a little tighter. In the other arm, she clutched a worn folder, edges bent, her resume inside. Her heart pounded louder than the buzz of the elevators. 3-year-old Piper skipped beside her, curls bouncing around her small, round face. She wore a blue dress that had once belonged to another child, pressed carefully the night before. Her shoes squeaked as they scuffed the floor. Then came the voice, cold, cutting, precise. "You brought a child to an interview." Sloan Barrett stood like a blade in heels, arms folded. Every eye in the lobby seemed to turn. Mara steadied her breath. "Yes," she answered, quietly but clear. "I couldn't leave her alone." Sloan's lips curved, more disdain than smile. "This is a corporate office, not a daycare. We screen for professionalism, Miss Quinn, not playdates." The receptionist shifted awkwardly but said nothing. Mara bent slightly toward Piper, giving her hand a soft squeeze. Her smile was forced, but it was the only reassurance she had. Then she straightened, voice low but steady. "I came prepared. I have everything you requested." The words cost her more than anyone there could see. Behind her eyes lay months of night shifts, motel bills, and borrowed bus fare. Sloan's gaze hardened. "You clearly did not prepare well enough." She motioned to the security guard near the door. That was when it happened. Piper brushed against a paper cup on the receptionist's desk. Water spilled, thin rivulets racing across the marble. A small gasp escaped Piper's lips. Mara dropped to her knees, digging frantically in her bag for tissues. "I'm so sorry," she said. Blotting the floor, her hands trembled. Her old gray heels pinched her toes as she crouched, scrubbing the water no one else touched. The air grew heavy with silence and judgment. And then the elevator chimed. Doors slid open with a soft sigh. A man in a charcoal suit stepped out, tall, steady, the kind of presence that changed a room. Rowan Hale, CEO of Ridgeline and Wilder. To most, he was just a name in magazines, Forbes covers, and conference stages. But here he was, in the lobby at 9:12 on a Monday morning. Not scheduled, not expected. His gaze landed instantly on the scene before him. A woman crouched on the floor, scrubbing spilled water. A child watching, wide-eyed and uncertain. A manager scowling, arms locked across her chest. For a moment he said nothing. The stillness stretched, taut like a wire. Then his voice calm, low, deliberate. "Why don't you tell me why you're here, Miss?" Mara looked up, startled. "Quinn? Mara Quinn?" Rowan nodded once. "Let's sit." His tone left no room for refusal. Sloan blinked, caught off guard. "Sir, this candidate brought a child, I can see that." Rowan replied evenly. "And I can also see she's on time, with her materials. So let's hear her out." No one else spoke. The lobby seemed to hold its breath. He pulled a chair from the waiting area, gesturing for her to sit. Mara hesitated, then rose, clutching Piper's hand. Her cheeks still burned from the scolding, but her spine straightened. Piper climbed onto her lap without a word. Rowan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes level with hers. "Take your time," he said softly. "Start wherever makes sense." Mara swallowed, hands smoothing the folds of Piper's dress. "I applied for the administrative support position. I saw the posting online." Her voice cracked, but only for a moment. Rowan's eyes didn't shift. Why now? A simple question, heavy as stone. Mara glanced at her daughter. "Because I can't afford to wait anymore." For the first time that morning, silence held curiosity instead of contempt. Sloane lingered, lips pressed tight. She wanted to speak, but Rowan's focus made her invisible. His attention belonged only to Mara and the child on her lap. "Tell me more," he urged. Her throat ached, but she forced the words. "I lost my husband 2 years ago. A drunk driver ran a red light." Rowan's gaze did not falter. "I'm sorry." Mara gave a small nod, the kind of nod given when grief is already dry. "I was 24. We had just started a part-time certificate in office administration. I thought it would give us stability. Then everything collapsed." She took a breath, eyes darting to Piper's tiny hand on her sleeve. "I've been raising her alone since." Her words were simple, but they filled the space like echoes. "I've worked wherever I could, cafes, retail, cleaning shifts. I applied here because I heard you had internal training programs. I thought if I could just get through the door." Her voice trailed off. Rowan studied her resume. It was spare, but clean, honest. He looked up again. "And today? Why bring her here?" Mara hesitated, shame tugging at her throat. "I couldn't afford childcare this week. We're staying in a weekly motel. I didn't want to leave her there alone." Her shoulders lifted, a small defiance, fragile but real. "I know it's unprofessional, but I also knew this was my chance." So we dressed, we practiced interview questions, and we came. Sloane's voice snapped from behind. "We can always reschedule without the child." Rowan raised a hand, cutting her off. She came prepared. "We'll finish now." The firmness in his tone was final. Sloane fell silent, eyes flashing with silent protest. Rowan turned back to Mara. "Would you be willing to take a 2-week trial entry-level office support?" "Reporting directly to me." Mara blinked, certain she misheard. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, absolutely." Rowan nodded once, already rising. "HR will draw up the paperwork today. You'll start Monday." Mara's chest trembled with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Her voice cracked on the second thank you. Piper clapped her hands, a tiny cheer breaking the tension. Rowan gave her a faint smile, then crouched low. "You did great today," he said gently. Piper's eyes lit up. She fished into her small pocket and pulled out her treasure, a wrinkled, copper-colored token pressed with the image of a maple leaf, her favorite. She offered it to him with both hands. Rowan accepted without hesitation. He slipped the coin into his leather planner, closed it with a soft snap. And in that moment, something shifted quiet, invisible, undeniable. No pity exchanged, only recognition, only respect. As Mara rose with Piper in her arms, the lobby returned to motion. But nothing was the same anymore. Not for her, not for him. This was no longer just an interview. It was the beginning of something neither of them had expected. Monday morning arrived before Mara was ready. The alarm buzzed in the small motel room, harsh and relentless. Piper stirred beside her, tiny hand curled around the stuffed fox she refused to sleep without. Mara dressed quickly, smoothing the wrinkles from her only blazer. She braided Piper's curls with fingers that trembled from nerves. The motel mirror reflected someone determined, even if exhaustion clung to her eyes. The bus was late. They ran the last block. Mara clutching her folder, Piper hopping to keep up. By the time they reached Ridgeline and Wilder, the lobby clock read 8:59. Her badge worked on the first try. A small miracle. She whispered a quiet thanks and guided Piper to the on-site daycare, the one Rowan had promised. The room smelled faintly of crayons and apple juice. Children's drawings lined the walls. Piper hesitated, clutching Mara's sleeve, then let go after a gentle kiss on the forehead. Mara's desk was small, tucked against the corner of the third floor. A second-hand monitor hummed faintly, and the chair squeaked when she sat down. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. At 10 sharp, Mr. Alvarez shuffled by, mop and bucket rolling quietly. His hands were calloused, his steps slow but steady. He paused when he noticed her brown paper lunch bag. "Coffee makes the heart race," he said in a gravelly voice, setting a bottle of warm water down. "This will keep you steady." Mara smiled, surprised by the kindness. "You want half a sandwich?" she asked. Opening her bag, "I cut it even." He shook his head, but she slid the piece toward him anyway. "I insist." She was hungry herself. But sharing was instinct now, not luxury. Alvarez nodded, the faintest grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. From down the hall, Rowan noticed. He didn't step in. He only watched. A flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. The day stretched long. Data entry, sorting documents, small training modules that blinked completion bars across her screen. She finished them all before the clock struck 5. But the text came just as she shut her laptop. Daycare closing 10 minutes early, maintenance issue. Her chest tightened. Piper would be waiting. She hurried, heels clacking, folder pressed against her chest. At her desk, Lila, a coworker with too bright lipstick, blocked the way. "You can't keep leaving early. Mara, the rest of us cover for you." Mara's grip tightened on the folder. "I completed every report. Check the shared drive Q2 our support." "That's not the point. This isn't daycare." The word stung more than she wanted to admit. She straightened, ready to take it, when another voice cut through. "Lila." Rowan stepped into the corridor. His tone was calm but final. "You can go." She blinked, flustered. "But I know. You can go." Lila's eyes narrowed before she left, heels sharp on the tile. Mara stood frozen, uncertain what came next. "You okay?" Rowan asked, softer now. "Yes, sir," she answered quickly, though her chest still burned. He studied her for a long moment. "Take tomorrow off. It's already cleared. I don't want special treatment." "It isn't. You've earned it." He turned away before she could protest again. The elevator doors closed behind him, leaving only silence. Mara exhaled, shaky, as though she'd been holding her breath all day. Downstairs, Piper ran into her arms, giggling, waving a crayon drawing. It showed 3 stick figures, 2 big, 1 small, holding hands under a red roof. Mara blinked back the sting in her eyes. That night, Rowan sat in his office, lights dim, planner open on the desk. The maple leaf coin rested inside, gleaming softly in the lamplight. His fingers brushed the ridges as he stared at it longer than he meant to. The next weekend brought sun, clear and crisp. Mara took Piper to Maplewood Park, hoping for fresh air after a long week. The pond shimmered, joggers passing, guitar strings echoing faintly in the distance. Piper spotted a plastic bottle stuck in the grass. She tugged at it, too small to free it. Mara knelt, pulled it loose, and placed it in her daughter's hands. Where does it go? Piper. The girl scanned, found the trash bin, and trotted off proudly. Why clean when it's not ours? She asked. Mara brushed a leaf from her curls. Because we don't wait for the world to be kind. We make it kind. Her voice was gentle but firm, a truth carved from survival. From under the trees, Rowan appeared, his suit jacket slung over one arm, expression unreadable but softer than usual. Looks like I found the newest cleanup crew, he said. Piper squealed. Mr. Rowan. She bounded over, tugging his hand without hesitation. Mara stiffened, caught off guard, but he only bowed slightly. They ended up at a small outdoor cafe nearby. Checkered umbrellas shaded the tables, wood-fired pizza sizzling on trays. Piper colored on the back of a menu while Mara picked at her salad. Rowan had rolled up his sleeves, no longer the perfect magazine image. You teach her ethics already, he said, nodding toward Piper. Only when trash is involved, Mara replied with a small laugh. That answer you gave her? It was beautiful. She shook her head. I just want her to know kindness isn't something you wait for. His eyes softened. Is that how you were raised? No, she admitted. I was raised to hope kindness might show up if you were lucky. After my husband died, I thought grief would be the hardest part, but it wasn't. Her fork stilled. It was waking up every day pretending I had it together while everything I owned fit in 2 boxes. Rowan didn't interrupt. She sighed. I thought if I smiled more, worked harder, asked for less, it would fix things. But life doesn't reward effort. It rewards image. He leaned forward. You're wrong. Her eyes flicked up, startled. The world may not always care, but I do. I care about substance. Their gaze locked, an unspoken current between them. Then Piper interrupted, holding up her drawing. I made us a house. Rowan grinned. A masterpiece. Later, they walked back through the park. The sky shifted, breeze rolling cool. Piper sneezed. Mara reached into her bag, but Rowan was faster, draping his coat over the girl's shoulders. You don't have to. I do. She's fine. Really. A good leader notices who's shivering in silence, he said quietly. The words sank deep. Mara's chest tightened, then eased. For the first time, she didn't see a CEO. She saw someone present, someone who noticed. That night, back at the motel, Mara lay awake listening to Piper's breathing. Her mind replayed the day, his coat, his words, his eyes. She had not expected any of it, and yet she couldn't shake the feeling. Something had shifted. Something small, but real. The email subject line was plain HR meeting. 10:20 a.m. Room B. No details, no explanation. Mara's stomach twisted the moment she read it. She walked the long hallway with the envelope of her ID badge pressed against her chest. Each step echoed too loudly. Every glance from coworkers felt sharper than usual. Inside the conference room, the blinds were drawn. The air was stale, heavy, like something rehearsed. Sloan Barrett sat stiff at the table, beside Mr. Keene from legal. A folder lay open between them. 2 photos slid halfway across the table. Mara didn't need to lean closer. She recognized them immediately. Her and Rowan at Maplewood Park. Piper on his shoulders, laughing. Another frame Rowan's coat draped over her daughter. The captions she'd already seen online replayed in her mind. Single mom scores golden ticket. CEO's pet. No wonder she got promoted. Mr. Keene cleared his throat. This isn't about gossip. Ms. Quinn, it's about perception. liability, protecting the company. The words hit like stones, each one heavier than the last. Sloan slid a crisp envelope forward. This is a voluntary resignation. No fuss, no black marks. You can walk away clean. Her tone was honey-laced with venom. Mara stared at it. Her pulse hammered in her ears. 2 months ago, she'd been jobless, counting coins for groceries. Now this. Her fingers brushed the edge of the paper. She thought of Piper, of nights skipping meals so her daughter could eat. Her voice cracked. "May I have a moment?" "Of course," Sloan said sweetly, folding her hands. But the sooner the better, for everyone. The implication was clear. Just as Mara reached for the pen, the door opened. The room shifted. Rowan Hale walked in. No tight, sleeves rolled, expression unreadable. He closed the door behind him with deliberate calm. "This meeting stays open," he said. "Mr. Hale?" Sloan began, voice shrill. "This is a private HR matter, then it's one that should stay transparent." He cut in. His gaze swept the table before landing on Mara. "I've seen the posts," he said. "I know the photos. And I know exactly why I approved her promotion, because of merit, performance, ethics." He spoke each word like a gavel. "Mr. Keene shifted uncomfortably. There are still concerns about optics." Rowan leaned forward, voice sharper now. "Then let's be clear. Questioning her integrity means questioning mine." Silence thickened. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed louder. He turned to Mara, eyes steady. "You don't need to sign that. You've done nothing wrong." The weight of the room tilted. Her lips parted. She wanted to ask why he cared. Instead, she whispered, "To believe me?" "Yes," he answered without hesitation. "Because you matter. Because the people who work the hardest shouldn't be the ones most vulnerable." Her breath caught at the blunt honesty. Sloan bristled. "Mr. Hale, the optics?" "Then change the lens," he replied, tearing the resignation envelope clean in half. The sound of paper ripping cut through the silence. He dropped it into the trash, final and unshakable. "Ms. Quinn, you're dismissed from this meeting, not this company." Mara rose, legs trembling but spine straight. For once, she felt taller than the room that had tried to shrink her. She walked out with Rowan at her side, whispers trailing behind them. In the hallway, she turned to him. "You know they'll talk more now." He gave a faint smile. "Let them. I'm not afraid of noise." Her eyes held his. "Neither am I." The elevator doors closed, sealing the moment in silence. Inside, Mara's hands shook, but not from fear. For the first time, someone had chosen to stand beside her, not above her. 3 days passed. She avoided the executive floor, slipping into early lunches, staying late at her desk, not from shame, but from the strange weight of being defended in public. Late at night, in her rented studio, Piper asleep on her chest. Mara's phone buzzed. A short email. "You are more than what they say. You are exactly what this company needs. Don't disappear on me. R.H." She read it 3 times. Didn't reply. Just stared out at the skyline and whispered, "Why does that make it harder?" 2 days later, a calendar invite appeared. No subject line, just one word: rooftop, 6:25 p.m. She hovered over decline. But at 6:22, she found herself at the stairwell door, heart thudding, hand on the handle. The rooftop was quiet. The city sprawling golden beneath the sunset. Wind brushed her cheeks, carrying the faint smell of rain on steel. Rowan stood near the ledge, jacket off, tie gone. silhouette framed by the sky. He didn't turn at first. "Thank you for coming," he said simply. Mara crossed the distance slowly, folding her arms tight. "You didn't have to stand up for me like that." "Actually, I did." His voice was steady, but something beneath it quivered. Silence stretched, full but not awkward. Then he spoke again, lower now. "When I was 13, my younger brother drowned." Mara froze. Rowan's jaw clenched. "I was supposed to watch him. His name was Noah." The words cracked the air open. I snuck out. 15 minutes. By the time I came back, he was gone. His hand closed around something small in his pocket. He pulled it out, a dented silver whistle, strung on a thin chain. I blew this until my throat burned. The rescue team was late. It was useless. The whistle glinted, scarred and old. They told me he probably never woke up. But I never forgave myself. His eyes were rimmed red, though dry. I've built 100 things since then. But I've never built anything that made me feel worthy of still being here. Mara stepped closer, the city roaring below them. "You don't owe anyone redemption." "I know," he said, voice rough. "But it doesn't stop the needing." The wind tugged at her hair. He turned to face her fully now, the whistle clenched in his palm. "When I saw you standing in that lobby, holding your child while everyone judged you, I remembered what this was supposed to be about." His words fell heavy. "Honest. You saved someone. Not just yourself. Not just your daughter. You reminded me why this company has to matter." Her throat tightened, eyes burning. But she didn't let the tears fall. Carefully, she reached out. Her hand rested over his, warm and steady. No more words were needed. For a long moment, neither moved. The city lights flickered to life below, 1,000 points of noise and color. But up here, it was quiet. Not CEO and employee, not savior and survivor. Just two people, broken but still standing. For the first time in years, Rowan felt the hum of something unnamed. For the first time in years, Mara didn't feel entirely alone. They stood side by side, the whistle gleaming faintly between their hands. The video hit the office like a storm. It appeared on screens before anyone could stop it. Hashtag, bring your drama to work. The clip was grainy but clear. Mara crouched in the copy room, Piper crying in her lap, her voice soft, trying to calm her daughter while papers jammed in the printer behind them. Laughter rippled across desks. Some whispered, some smirked. By noon, it had spread beyond Ridgeline and Wilder. Blog posts, gossip boards, CEO's charity case. Mommy brings mess to the office. Mara's cheeks burned as she walked down the corridor. Every glance felt like a dart. Every whisper carried her name. Sloane lingered at the far end, arms crossed, lips curving with satisfaction. She didn't need to say a word. Her eyes said enough. In the executive suite, the crisis team gathered. Rowan sat at the head of the table, sleeves rolled, jaw set. Around him, screens glowed with headlines and comments. Damage control, someone asked. Apology termination, another suggested. Rowan shook his head once. No denial, no shame. We flipped the narrative. He tapped the screen, pulling up a slide titled, Anchor Start. A new initiative, half finished. Now suddenly urgent. Scholarships for single parents. Emergency funds covering 3 months of rent. On-site daycare expansion. This isn't about one clip, Rowan said. It's about the culture we choose. We don't bury this. We own it. The room buzzed, but no one dared argue. By 12:05, an email landed in Mara's inbox. 5 simple words, you'll speak. 5 minutes. Her hands trembled as she read it. She ducked into the restroom, leaning over the sink. The mirror reflected a woman pale with nerves, but still standing. She unclipped her blazer and pinned the maple leaf coin to her lapel. Her fingers lingered on the ridges. It was Piper's treasure. Now it would be her armor. At 1:30, the atrium filled. Employees packed the floor. Cameras set at the back. Reporters waiting. The energy was restless, humming like wires before a storm. Rowan stepped up first, voice calm, confident. "We are not perfect, but we are not ashamed of what should be honored." He paused, letting silence do its work. "And now, someone who reminds us why we exist." He gestured. Mara stepped forward. The microphone loomed. Her breath hitched. Then she began. "The first day I came here, I ended up on the floor, cleaning spilled water." Her voice shook, then steadied. Everyone watched. No one moved. I realized then, if you wait for the world to be kind, you will wait forever. She swallowed hard. So I showed up anyway, even when it hurt. I'm not here because of pity. I'm here because I do the work. Because I know what it's like to fight for a second chance. She held the coin between her fingers for strength. And I'm not the only one. Faces softened in the crowd. Some nodded. The whispers quieted. From today, if you can't find childcare, Anchor Start will help. If you think your path is over, this company will show you a turn. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. This is not charity. This is justice. A beat of silence. Then applause broke like thunder. It started with a few, then swelled until the atrium shook with it. Rowan's eyes stayed on Mara, not as a CEO, but as a man who believed her. At the back, Sloane's face froze. The smile slipped. She turned on her heel, disappearing through the crowd. Minutes later, a quiet exchange unfolded in Rowan's office. Security placed a small drive on his desk. Pulled from the access logs, the guard said. Rowan inserted it. The screen filled with lines of data. The source of the leaked video was clear Sloane Barrett. No theatrics, no shouting. Just a terse email from compliance access violation. Immediate suspension pending investigation. By 3 o'clock, Sloane's badge no longer worked. Her office door was locked. The empire she clung to had turned cold against her. Meanwhile, Mara sat alone in the break room, hands wrapped around a cup of tea she didn't drink. Her body shook with leftover adrenaline, but her chest felt lighter than it had in months. Rowan entered quietly, leaning against the doorway. "You spoke well." His voice was softer now, almost proud. "I thought I'd fall apart," she admitted. "You didn't." She met his gaze. "Why me?" she asked. "Why risk the company for me?" His answer came without hesitation. "Because what's right for one person can reshape an entire room." She blinked. Words caught in her throat. For the first time, she let herself believe him. That evening, Mara walked to the daycare. Piper ran into her arms, waving a crayon masterpiece. It showed 3 stick figures under a giant red heart. "Who's this?" Mara asked gently. Piper pointed to the tallest figure, smiling wide. "That's Mr. Rowan." Her mother's chest tightened. She kissed the top of her daughter's curls, whispering, "Maybe it is." As they left the building, the sun broke through the clouds. For the first time in weeks, Mara lifted her chin and breathed without fear. The whispers no longer mattered, because she wasn't invisible anymore. Because for once, she wasn't standing alone. A year passed. Ridgeline and Wilder was no longer the same company. The name Anchor Start had become a beacon. Graduation banners stretched across Riverton Civic Hall. Rows of folding chairs filled the wide room, each seat occupied by parents who once thought the world had forgotten them. Their children waved paper flags, proud and loud, backstage. Mara adjusted her blazer. The badge clipped to her lapel read, Director of Training and Development. She still had the maple leaf coin pinned beneath it. Hidden, but always near, Piper sat in the front row, curls tied into 2 playful braids. She bounced in her chair, waving at her mother with both hands. Beside her, Rowan sat in a navy suit, his attention fixed only on them. The music swelled as Rowan took the podium. He stood tall, the weight of the room leaning into his voice. Today is more than a milestone. It is proof. His words rolled, firm and steady. For the parents who kept going when life told them to stop. For those who were invisible, but never gave up. Anchor Start exists because you deserve more than survival. You deserve futures. Applause burst, but his eyes never left Mara and Piper. When her turn came, Mara walked to the stage. Her steps were steady now, not the trembling of a year ago. She told the crowd, I know what it feels like to be overlooked. I know what it feels like to walk into a room and believe you don't belong. But I also know what happens when someone finally says you do. The hall roared with approval. Children cheered. Parents wiped their eyes. Piper clapped so hard her small hands turned pink. After the ceremony, the 3 of them walked together under the maple trees behind the building. Piper swung between their hands, laughing as her shoes tapped the bricks. The air smelled of cut grass and possibility. She dug into her pocket and pulled out a small treasure. The same maple leaf coin, edges dulled with time. Look, Mommy. It was in his jacket, she said proudly, pointing at Rowan. Mara froze. Rowan's brow lifted, caught in the surprise. Piper pressed the coin into his hand. It's yours, right? She asked. He crouched, meeting her eyes. It's ours, he said finally, and slipped it onto his tie pin for everyone to see. Mara's chest tightened, emotion pressing hard against her ribs. The gesture was simple, but it was the loudest declaration he had ever made. Weeks later, the beach at Halvern stretched wide under a golden sky. Bare feet pressed into warm sand. Sea spray misted the air as a small crowd gathered. There were no chandeliers, no velvet aisles, only wildflowers lining a narrow path and the sound of waves beating steady. Piper skipped ahead, tossing petals with unrestrained joy. Mara walked slowly, dress simple, hair swept by the wind. Every step carried the weight of where she had been and the lightness of where she was now. At the end of the path stood Rowan, linen shirt untucked, barefoot, eyes locked on her. The officiant smiled. Rowan Hale. Do you take this woman and her daughter into your life, your home, your forever? Rowan's answer was immediate. I already have. The crowd stirred, emotion thick in the air. The officiant turned to Mara Quinn. Do you take this man, not just for yourself, but as a father to your child and a partner in every storm ahead? Her voice cracked, but it was filled with joy. With all my heart. Piper stood between them, clutching both their hands. She giggled, too young to understand the gravity, but wise enough to feel the love. Together, they sealed the vow not with grandeur, but with truth. Later, in the company's new training center, a fresh banner stretched above the entrance. Every parent deserves a starting line. Every child deserves a future. Visitors paused to take photos, inspired by the words. Down a quiet hallway, sunlight spilled through tall windows. The 3 of them walked hand in hand, not CEO and employee, not applicant and gatekeeper, just a family, chosen, forged in storms, made real by staying. The kind of home no paycheck or title could buy. That evening, the reception wound down. Laughter and music faded into the background. Rowan and Mara stood outside, the ocean still whispering nearby. She touched the lapel of his shirt, where the coin still gleamed. It traveled far. Didn't it? She said softly. He covered her hand with his. Every step worth it, he replied. His voice was steady, but his eyes held a tenderness rarely shown to anyone else. For the first time, he wasn't building an empire, he was building a life. Piper ran up, holding Captain Rusty, her stuffed fox, high above her head. Family picture, she demanded. They laughed, crouching down as someone snapped the shot. 3 faces pressed close, hair tousled by the breeze, a coin shining on his tie. A fox tucked under Piper's arm. Later, as they drove back through Riverton, lights of the city flashing, Mara leaned her head against the window. She whispered, half to herself, half to him. Home isn't a place, it's the people who stay. Rowan reached over, taking her hand without a word. The camera of memory pulled back. The skyline glowed, vast and unbothered. Inside the car, the quiet hum of belonging filled every space. Sometimes what feels like the end of the road is only the beginning. Mara had walked into that interview with nothing but courage and a child in hand. She walked out with a second chance and a future she never imagined. Because kindness isn't weakness, and love doesn't wait for perfect timing. It simply shows up and stays. 1 year later, banners stretched across the Riverton Civic Hall. Anchor start, cohort, graduation. The stage gleamed under bright lights, seats filled with families, reporters, and employees. Backstage, Mara adjusted the badge on her blazer. Director of Training and Development. Her fingers smoothed the lapel where the maple leaf coin still rested, polished now from touch. She peeked out through the curtain. In the front row, Piper bounced in her chair, hair tied into 2 uneven ponytails. Beside her sat Rowan, immaculate in a navy suit, but warmer, less rigid than the man she first met. He leaned down, whispering something to Piper. The little girl laughed, waving both arms wildly until she spotted her mother. Mara raised a hand in return, her smile trembling at the edges. The program began. Music swelled. Graduates walked across the stage, receiving certificates, shaking hands. Mara stood ready at the side, clipboard clutched, making sure the schedule stayed on track. Then it was Rowan's turn at the podium. The audience hushed, the weight of expectation pressing into the room. He scanned the crowd but paused only once where Mara and Piper sat. Today isn't about policy, he began, voice steady. It's about people who refuse to stop, even when everything told them to. It's about second chances. Applause broke out, but his eyes stayed locked on the 2 who had changed his life. Afterward, families spilled into the garden behind the hall. Children ran across the grass, their laughter ringing high. Piper tugged at Mara's sleeve, pulling her toward the fountain. Rowan followed, jacket slung over his arm. He looked less like a CEO and more like someone who belonged here, in the noise and mess of family. Piper stretched her arms up. Carry me, Mr. Rowan. He lifted her without hesitation, settling her on his shoulders. Her delighted squeal drew stares, but he didn't care. Mara watched, heart caught between pride and disbelief. How had a chance interview turned into this? How had she found herself in a world that once seemed impossible to reach? As they walked, Piper fished into his pocket. Her tiny fingers pulled out the maple leaf coin, now familiar. Whose is this, she asked, holding it high. Rowan tilted his head, playing along. Yours? Maybe no. She giggled. Ours? He grinned, slipping the coin onto his tie pin, securing it for everyone to see. Mara felt a lump rise in her throat. This wasn't a secret anymore. Weeks later, the beach at Halvern spread wide under the afternoon sun. No grand ballroom, just friends, sand between toes, and wildflowers scattered along the aisle. Mara walked slowly, Piper skipping ahead with a basket of petals. Her simple white dress caught the wind. Nothing lavish, only hers. At the end of the path stood Rowan, barefoot in linen, waiting with eyes that held nothing but her. The officiant spoke, voice clear against the surf. Do you, Rowan Hale, take this woman and her daughter into your life, your heart, your forever? Rowan didn't blink. I already have. The crowd stirred, quiet laughter mixing with sniffles. Piper tugged at her mother's gown, smiling proudly. And do you, Mara Quinn, take this man, not only for yourself, but as a father to your child and a partner in every storm ahead? Her voice caught, but she managed the words. With all my heart. Piper wedged herself between them, holding both their hands. The officiant smiled. Then together, you are what you've chosen to be. Cheers rose as they kissed, soft and certain. The ocean roaring behind them. Sand clung to their feet. Petals swirled in the wind. Nothing about it was perfect, but everything about it was real. Back at Ridgeline and Wilder, a new banner hung across the glass atrium. Anchor Start Training Center. Employees gathered to watch the unveiling, clapping as the cloth dropped. Mara walked the halls now with calm authority. No longer the nervous applicant clutching a folder. Now a leader, guiding others through doors that once felt locked to her. Rowan walked at her side, his hand brushing hers when no one looked. Not hidden, not flaunted, simply present, steady. One evening, after the building emptied, Piper skipped along the corridor between them. She held their hands, swinging her legs with each step. The sunlight poured through tall windows, bathing them in gold. Her curls bounced as she laughed. Mara glanced at Rowan, and for once, he didn't look away. There was no weight of title, no wall of distance. Just a man who had carried guilt too long. Just a woman who had carried burdens too heavy. And a child who made them both believe again. They paused at the end of the hall. Piper tugged them forward, insistent. Come on, we're almost home. Mara laughed, the sound free and bright. Rowan tightened his grip, not letting go. The three walked on, hand in hand, into the fading light. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. If it touched something inside you, share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear what part stayed with you most. Don't forget to tap that subscribe button so you never miss the next story. Your time here means more than you know. Wishing you peace, kindness, and a warm tomorrow.